Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to what I guarantee will be the most important 20-minute dump and/or meal of your entire life. For a hot minute now, video game movies have been on a bit of an apology tour to make up for the fact that, like, for most of recorded history, a movie coming out that was based on a game meant that fans could look forward to seeing a big-budget adaptation of all of their favorite characters' names. And that was, that was about it. And, like, nothing could ever just be, like, a straight adaptation of the game. It always had to be, like, what if Resident Evil was cringe? What if the good part of Rampage was 5 minutes of a 2-hour-long movie? And what if Sonic looked like a stillborn Alvin and the Chipmunk? Or we could just make him look like Sonic. Like, why didn't we just do that the first time? But at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter how much they try and adapt something for a new audience while trying to be faithful to the source material, because the only thing that people give a shit about is how many times they can point at the screen and make the funny soy jack face. Now, something being accurate doesn't always mean that it's good, and I mean, there have been some examples of them changing shit where it's actually worked out, okay? Here's this video's Transformers reference, there you go. Like The Boys, for example, right? Have you ever read that comic? Good. Don't. But I also really can't blame people for feeling like that, when usually the stuff they change is worse almost all of the time. So I've assembled a list of this genre's strongest soldiers to have them compete in a tournament decided entirely by the most unbiased and impartial source I could find. Me. Who has definitely played every video game ever made and will not be basing this off of 10-year-old YouTube comparison videos. At least 16 video game movies that I printed way too small, but I'm just going to pretend like I did on purpose as part of the bit, that we're going to go through. Not to find like the best one, because we all know that Spy Kids 3D, game over, obviously. I'm going to go through as many video game movies that I could watch in a week to decide which of them is the most accurate game movie of all time. Starting with the least accurate game movie of all time. For any of you that for some reason have been watching me for over a year of your life at this point will probably know two things about me by now. One, that it took me until January of this year to discover the existence of Conditioner, and two, that I am the Mario movie's strongest soldier. I do not care how many times I have to hear about how much shit it got from critics and audiences and Nintendo and literally every single person that worked on it.
Wait, so what's your next film? I'm doing Super Mario Brothers. Oh, that's the game. Oh, what?
And like, in terms of accuracy, I don't know what the problem is. I mean, all your favorite characters are here, okay? We got Daisy, we got Mario and Luigi, who have more of an age gap than me and the intended audience of this movie. What's that? Where's Bowser? I think you mean President Cooper, who's just a regular dude. And before you think that it would have been better if he was a turtle, trust me, no, it wasn't. And Yoshi, who is a velociraptor, and all your other favorite Mario characters, like Prostitute. And do you remember that time Daisy's father got turned into a disgusting, sentient fungus hive mind monster? Remember that from the game? But even knowing that this movie is like concerningly horny for something that's meant to be based on a game for children, I fucking love this movie, dude, okay? I'm only slightly being held at gunpoint when I tell you that I genuinely think it is like such a creative way to have adapted the game into a movie. Cause like, this was 1993, okay? Yeah, nowadays it's super easy to imagine how you make a Mario movie, but we're talking like a pre-Waluigi world here, okay? But we're not giving out any points for being creative today, okay? So get that shit very slowly out of here. Because then, like, when you go and compare that to the new Mario movie, where everything is basically plagiarized from the game because Nintendo was probably holding these guys at gunpoint to make sure they didn't change a single thing. Koopas. And cram, like, maybe 40 years worth of Mario games into one movie. They got stuff from Mario 3, and Odyssey, and Mario Kart 8, and other game that you can buy on your Nintendo Switch console right now. It's so tiny. It's so little. And yeah, I might be about 25 years older than the people that are supposed to be watching a Mario movie made by the guys who made the Minions movies, but genuinely, like, I think the Bowser and Peach in this are like the best that they've ever been, and I'm not just saying that because they made both of them unnecessarily attractive.
I made a masterpiece for Princess Peach. What do you think?
It's trash.
You fucker! You fucking bitch!
I mean, it's so accurate that it's like willing to betray its own established lore. Like, they make a point that Mario and Luigi are only wearing like these dumbass fits because they're meant to be like, you know, the uniforms for their brand new plumbing business.
Yeah, but what's with the outfits? Plumbers wearing white gloves?
That's right. You gotta have a trademark. Gotta stand out.
But then when we flash back to them as babies, like 20 minutes later, they're wearing the exact same shit. Which one is it, guys? But you know what? Despite that glaring continuity error in a movie made for 6-year-old children, I think for now, I'm putting this one in our top 4. Guys, is this Freddy Fazbear? I'm not gonna lie to you and pretend like I ever finished getting my degree in the FNAF lore. Like, I spent most of my Freddy phase on Markiplier and game theory videos on account of being way too much of a pussy to actually play the game. But I kinda like the FNAF movie, okay? there is also a second one. I think Mike and Abby's dynamic is really cool. The animatronics look really good every time they're not trying to move.
Guys? Is this Freddy Fazbear? Arr!
Was that the bike?
I like that Mike's aunt's lawyer is in a constant state of looking like someone just told him the police found his hard drive. Matthew Lillard is really good as William Afton. That's why he's on screen for about 5 minutes and they kill him immediately. And I like when Freddy goes, ho, 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 ho. And like, I think I'm okay with the fact that the FNAF movie obviously didn't give a shit about wanting to adapt like any of the actual gameplay or atmosphere of the series that made it so popular with perpetually screaming YouTubers, as it was like all of the lore and fan service of having William Afton quoting his iconic catchphrase,
I always come back.
It's like in the game. After he dies for the very first time in his life after being on screen for maybe like 5 minutes. This is one of the only ones that's like actually written by the same guy who made the game, so like he can do whatever he wants with it. It's just like, you know, personally, as a very well-established Hollywood executive who's worked on a lot of movies like myself, I do feel like FNAF could totally work as just like a tight one-location horror movie. I mean, the best part of the second movie is when they just play like FNAF 2 for 5 minutes. Like, would it have worked for the whole time? Maybe not, but it would have probably been better than the animatronics turning up like the Avengers at the end. But for that reason alone, and for its lack of Markiplier, these ones aren't making it. I'm so sorry. If you had to choose a genre that would probably be like the hardest to make a movie out of, you would think it would be like fighting games, right? Given that it's not like anyone was ever playing those for the story, but they just keep pumping these things out. We got Tekken, Street Fighter, Dead or Alive, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 2. And out of all of those, there's about one of them that people actually like. There we go. Look, it's slightly bigger than the other ones. And I can't say I know a whole lot about Mortal Kombat outside of like this movie and 7-hour-long Mortal Kombat 7 cutscene compilations on YouTube. But I respect so much that like the approach to making the first Mortal Kombat movie was like, okay, we got a game that has like ninjas and wizards and shit everywhere. And they knew that there was just no conceivable way to try and make any of it make sense. So they kind of just chuck all of it in there and go with it. Like, yeah, put in the guy with 4 arms. Fuck it. Punch him in the dick. I don't care. The set design, mwah. The casting is iconic. The effects are absolute dog shit. But in terms of accuracy, I mean, how are you gonna make a Mortal Kombat movie without any blood in it, man? Come on. That's like making a Street Fighter movie without any actual street fighting in it. I mean, can you imagine what that?
You know this, then why do you serve him?
Because he paid me a freaking fortune, you moron.
You got paid?
I spent an hour of my life making all of these posters look really funny, and no one can tell what they look like because they're really tiny. Okay, so if you told me I had to make an Uncharted movie, I can't say eternally 19 years old Tom Holland would be my first choice to play iconic middle-aged man Nathan Drake, but thankfully they distracted everyone from being mad about that by also casting Mark Wahlberg as Sully, who without his mustache is not the same guy, that is just Mark Wahlberg. Somehow this movie is like totally fine with taking a bunch of random shit from the games. Like they got the boat and sand from Uncharted 4, they got the cargo plane from Uncharted 3, and the extremely unmemorable villain I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about if you put a gun to my head from every Uncharted game. I mean, really the only thing missing is Sully's fucking mustache. And I feel like they obviously knew that like he was supposed to have that because they give it to him at the end of the movie, but only for like the last 5 seconds. Then at that point, it's just like, why didn't you just... It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's actually okay. Well, how about the Resident Evil movies, which are accurate to the game and that they're called Resident Evil? I think the first movie gets a pass for basically just being Resident Evil fan fiction because I think originally they were going to try and make it like a prequel to the game or something. Like, I don't know how true that is actually. I'm going to look that up. Oh, well, if the AI overview says it, then that's fine then. But then like the further you get into the series, they made like 20 of these for some reason. And they start having like actual characters from the game show up, but then they make them like side characters to their OC who just end up kind of being like the same characters. So then you just have like 2 of the same person in one movie. Is that meant to be Leon Kennedy? Who the fuck is that guy? Even the Angry Birds movie is more faithful than that. And that movie turned the Mighty Eagle into a sex offender. I know that like sounds like I'm doing a bit, but that's like actually, that's like actually a thing that happens in the movie.
Mighty Eagle.
What?
What are you doing?
I'm bird watching.
Oh, you're disgusting.
Oh yeah.
Aside from giving them all disgusting arms and legs, the actual characters of the Angry Birds movie are pretty much about how I always envisioned them. You know, Terrence has definitely killed a man before. Red is like a sad, lonely child who definitely only talks about the male loneliness epidemic whenever you talk to him. But, you know, back in the day when I spent $1.99 to get the Mighty Eagle, I definitely did not envision him as someone that spied on elderly women in his free time, but... That's okay. We're allowed to take some creative liberties. But if we're looking for accuracy, then we're watching the wrong Resident Evil movie, because after 5 sequels in almost 20 years, they finally made one that's not only trying to be a horror movie, but is also actually based on the games. I forgot to print out Resident Evil, so I'm just gonna put a thing here.
You snooze, you lose. What? Still a sandwich now.
That's like in the game.
And you know what? They finally did it. They got the mansion in there, and the Raccoon City Police Department. They got the dogs out. There's even a liquor in there for no reason. And people fucking hate this movie. They cram like so much shit into this movie that they basically like speed run the entirety of the first 2 games in less than like 90 minutes, to the point where there's like too much shit from the games to actually have time to enjoy any of it, which I think people would have gotten over if they hadn't made the crucial mistake of making Leon a himbo. Because if there's one thing you don't want to come between, it's Resident Evil fans and their love of Leon Kennedy. That being said, I think that might make me one of the only people that actually really likes this movie. Oh, what's that? You don't care? Okay, yeah, fair enough. The first Silent Hill movie might not have the main character of the game, but I do think it actually captures the vibe of the OG game pretty well by not only using like a lot of the same music, but also by having all of the CGI look like it came from a PS2 game. But unfortunately, he's going to be disqualified because of Pyramid Head. Not because he's not in the first Silent Hill, but because they made him way too hot. Look at Pyramid Head in the game, and look at him in the movie. Why did they make him so hot? Luckily, they put out a new one this year that, despite getting even worse reviews somehow, does have a guy called James in it this time, from Silent Hill 2, who still hasn't gotten over a girl who broke up with him years ago, just like my life, and in Silent Hill 2. And just like the game, you spend most of it questioning whether what you're seeing is even real, except for James's beard, which is definitely real. Do you know how much funnier this bit would be if you could actually fucking see the posters? Okay, so you've probably only made it this far into the video to hear me talk about the Sonic movies, which are kind of like the best case scenario for taking a bunch of random shit from the games and naturally incorporating it in a movie being watched by people who haven't spent about 15 hours a day of their childhood on the Sonic News Network wiki. I mean, they started off pretty light with the first one, like, oh, Green Hills, I get it, like the game. And then Sonic 2, like, brought in Tails and Knuckles. And then for Sonic 3, they just went fucking crazy with it. You got Shadow, you got the Eclipse Cannon, you got Gerald, you got Maria's corpse. And this is like the only time where I think the stuff they did change actually really benefits the movie in being like a way more cohesive take on Sonic, which is exactly why it does the complete opposite of everything that we're looking at here. So get
I don't believe this.
I know, grandson. A woman in the military.
The Rock was also kind enough to bless us with 2 of the video game movies of all time. And look, despite what you've probably been thinking this entire video while looking at me, I'm not perfect, alright? I like the first Doom movie. It may not have Doom Guy or any good reviews, but it does have the BFG, okay? It's got some demons in there. Oh, what's that? They're not demons in this movie? In the game about going to hell? Okay, but Rampage couldn't even get the color of the gorilla right, which I only found out through the Amazon trivia because reading through it was the most exciting part of watching this movie.
You look like big shit.
Even after about a year of living in a post-Minecraft movie world, I honestly still don't really know how to feel about it, because like on one hand it was one of the greatest cinematic experiences of my entire life, but it's also an absolutely dog-ass adaptation of the game. Because, like, it's less a movie about Minecraft the game and more one made for the kind of people that like Minecraft. And unfortunately for you, I love Minecraft. I see why people like my brother who rewatched it with me during this marathon held, like, the same facial expression during the entire 2 hours that you'd make during a funeral. But that might have also been because the version I downloaded was in Korean. But, like, I wasn't gonna get up.
Nan! Stevia.
And you do have to wonder why they even bothered introducing main characters that aren't Steve if half of them are going to have less screen time than Jennifer Coolidge trying to fuck a villager. But like, say what you want about the Minecraft movie. Technically, it is pretty accurate to the game, to some degree. I mean, like, none of these other movies were brave enough to just dedicate half the script to having Jack Black shouting out the Minecraft wiki verbatim.
An ender pearl.
Which means it will be advancing to the mysterious off-screen part that you can't see in our top 4. But it doesn't matter how much attention to detail they have, because it's still going to get brutally mogged by Detective Pikachu. I mean, like, if they were going to let them make a Pokemon movie, they were going to make sure that everything was exactly the same, except chucking on, like, a terrifying RTX filter. So now instead of, like, aww, aww, baby, you get more like, aww, ugh. And not only does it actually look like the game, but they also go to the effort of like setting the whole thing in a city that where like Pokemon battles are outlawed, so they can still like respect the law while doing their own shit. And then literally no one ever talks about it. So I'm finally giving this movie the respect it deserves, okay? It is definitely going in our top 4. And finally, we have Pixels with Adam Sandler. You're gonna get mad at me for this one, but I am counting it. I am not here to be a Pixels defender, okay? In fact, I have a long-running beef with this movie, because like, I remember the first time I saw the poster with like a big-ass Pac-Man on it, I was so hyped for it to come out, but like, the literal second I saw a frame of Adam Sandler's stupid face in the trailer, I knew to never get excited about anything again in my entire life. I was surprised that there's like a lot of people that actually really like this movie, and like, yeah, I'll give it that it is a pretty cool concept, but you still have to listen to Adam Sandler say shit like this for 2 hours.
Have you been playing Space Invaders a lot? How did you know that? Because you're invading my space. Back up.
And what of this movie that isn't our hero Adam Sandler inappropriately hitting on a recently cheated on single mother going through a divorce?
Whoa! Are you trying to kiss me? Oh.
The gist of it is that like some guy sent footage of a video game competition into space that some aliens like interpret as a threat, so they come down to Earth in the form of boomer video games to kill everyone on the planet. And I mean, like, to be fair, if we did send footage of like an Adam Sandler movie into space, I think wanting to blow up the entire planet is a completely justified crash out. And even though the nicest thing I can say about this movie is that it reminded me of watching Ghostbusters if all 4 of the main cast weren't allowed near women, if you want to look at it, technically, they do play Donkey Kong and Pac-Man almost in their entirety and pretty faithfully to the actual games, as long as you ignore the rest of the movie that ends with Josh Gad impregnating Q*bert.
But no one else is weirded out by this? That was just Q*bert.
So unfortunately for every other movie on here, it is advancing to our top 4. So that leaves us with our final 4 very tiny contenders: the Minecraft movie, the Mario movie, Detective Pikachu, and my GOAT, Pixels. Starting with a battle that's recreating the 2 halves of my 8-year-old brain: Minecraft versus Pokemon. I like these movies for very different reasons, okay? Detective Pikachu for doing a fantastic job of translating its world into live action, and the Minecraft movie for giving me about 25 years worth of vocal stems. And aside from the Mario movie, I think between the 2 of these, they do like the best job of bringing to life the world of the games, even if Detective Pikachu looks like a full lived-in world, while Minecraft looks like a Smosh video. But like, I think I gotta give this one to Detective Pikachu purely because of how much it pisses me off that the Minecraft movie like gave everything square heads, but then like the rest of everyone's bodies are like normal shaped. Like, why the fuck would the sword be made out of squares if you're just gonna give General Chungus regular shaped nipples? Like, are you fucking kidding me? So with that, Detective Pikachu moves on to our final round. So that leaves Mario and Pixels with Adam Sandler. Like, this is going to be kind of a tough one because, you know, both of these movies are definitely of equal quality. But luckily for me, it took my lazy ass so long to get through all the movies I needed to watch for this video that I made it just in time for the release of the Mario Galaxy movie, which made like the crucial mistake of doing the exact same thing the first movie did, but naming itself after like the one Mario game that actually has a story. And I don't remember Star Fox being in Mario Galaxy, okay? I still had a pretty good time with the Mario Galaxy movie, okay? Don't get me wrong, I'm not that boring. But the only things that has to do with the game it's based on is like Rosalina's 5 minutes of screen time and like a couple of power-ups in there. Because the rest of the experience of watching this movie is just going like, wow, is that Wart? Is that Birdo? Is that the Mega Leg? Remember Bowser Jr.? And so by using that completely bullshit logic, Pixels takes another W, while Mario gets stuck with an L bigger than the one on Luigi's hat. So that leaves us with our 2 finalists, Detective Pikachu and shitty Adam Sandler comedy movie Pixels. Here's the thing though, Detective Pikachu isn't just based on Pokemon, it's based on Detective Pikachu, the video game. The video game Detective Pikachu. You might not know that because nobody on the planet ever talks about Detective Pikachu. And as far as I can tell from like the collective 10 minutes of IGN comparison videos I watched, it's still not like one-to-one to the game, but they are both about a dude named Tim teaming up with his dad's Pikachu persona to solve a mystery about a drug that's making Pokemon tweak the hell out. So because of that, I think that definitely means that the most accurate game movie of all time is probably Iron Lung, actually, now that I think about it.